Hello, my name is Ashleigh Gordon, and I am the Artistic and Executive Director of Castle of Our Skins, or COOS for short. COOS is very excited to continue its partnership with the Celebrity Series of Boston and you, the students of Boston String Academy, City Strings United, Boston Citywide Orchestra, and Boston Latin Academy. As you know, by this point, we are gearing up for this year's String Fest, where we will give the virtual world premiere of Jessica May's Anthem for Go. I happen to have Jessica here with me today to help give more insight into this piece. So hello, Jessica, welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Trying to stay dry. It's nice and wet up here in New
Oh,
York City.
New York City. Wow, okay. Can you actually, speaking of New York, can you let our students know a little bit more about you? So, calling in from New York, I take it, what you
Okay,
do as a musician, and anything else you'd like to share.
absolutely. So, hi everybody. My name is Jessica Mays, and I'm a composer and a musician. And I currently live in New York City, originally from Denver, Colorado. And I grew up as a classically trained pianist, and I also play a bit of the guitar. And when I first started composing as a kid, the piano definitely served as, like a primary tool for playing around and digging up ideas and patterns and musical ideas. So I definitely feel tied to the piano in that way. But from that was the springboard that made me aware that composing actually exists. It isn't just messing around at a keyboard. There are composers out there who have this relationship with musicians and creating new ideas, and just that sense of collaboration and community is available to us. So it's a little bit about me.
Yay, that's great. And speaking of collaborations, I know you have done commissions like this before,
Mhm.
and I'm wondering if you can help our student string players know a little bit more about how this particular commission is maybe different from others that you've received. Is there anything unique about working with student string players? A few, I think 6 different organizations having a virtual premiere as opposed to in person. Anything you can share about the commission process?
Sure. So I've worked with many different soloists and ensembles and orchestras, and I've had the privilege of working with the incredibly talented musicians from Castle of Our Skins, or Koos. Is that how, am I saying that right?
Mhm. That's great.
Koos. So what's fun about this project is that I get to not only work again with members from Castle of Our Skins, but an unlimited number of student musicians, from these different organizations. So there's a real sense of community built into this experience that I usually don't get to experience at the same level with other commissions that I've received, where there's, like, a restricted number of players, a restricted number of artists that I'm working with, and so on. So this piece, um, as you know, it was written and premiered during the COVID pandemic. So live in-person concerts, they're not possible right now. So in place of a live performance, I created a click track using a MIDI recording of what the piece sounds like, which all the musicians, including the students, will listen to and record themselves playing along with. So I'm just very excited and intrigued with this entire adventure, and hearing what all of these parts will sound like when they come together in one cohesive performance.
Yes, we're all looking forward to that moment too, and I think for me that leads into sort of my next question, which I would love to ask you about the theme. And you just referenced the cohesive performance, and one of our themes is unity. I wonder if you could help again our string students know more about how unity and resilience as concepts were inspirations for you, how they're connected to the piece, and even how they appear in the piece that you wrote.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's so 2020, when this piece was written, it is an incredibly tremendously difficult year on many different levels. And so the idea of translating what has often felt like a very dark time into this space of light and hope. Yeah, this piece was written in the spirit of resilience and hope and moving forward from this time, pushing forward towards something better for ourselves as a community, for ourselves on this planet. So a little bit of history with this piece. A couple years back, I wrote a piece called Go. I was switching between Go and Pilot. That's a long story. And it was written for an orchestra, a chamber orchestra. And there was a chord progression at the very end of that piece that I really, really liked. And it's been like this earworm. It's been stuck in my head for a really long time, especially this year. I just felt like that chord progression felt right for this project. So I grabbed that chord progression and reimagined it and arranged it for all strings instrumentation, including a percussion backdrop as well towards the end, and expanded on it. So yeah, the piece, even the original piece that is I got the source material from, or that chord progression from, this piece is really about that feeling of blind determination and exhilaration and maybe a little bit of fear, but also hope as you lean into the tipping point. So that point where you're at the very top of the hill and it's like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. Like no matter what that fear is, whatever you feel is holding you back, we're going to lean into it, and we're going to lean into it together, into this next new adventure, whatever that's going to be. So hope and momentum.
Beautiful. Hope, momentum, leaning in. I think that gives me a lot of clarity as a violist with Castle of Our Skins and learning this music as well too. A little bit about the instrumentation. So the Castle of Our Skins string quartet will be one sort of ensemble that's part of this piece, in addition to the student strings, as well as percussion that you had mentioned from your earlier piece, coming on to the end of the piece as well. Can you help us understand a little bit how those different parts fit in, and if one part is sort of representing hope and another is representing momentum, or anything about how the different parts fit in together would be great.
Sure. Let me think about this for a second. So one thing that I explored with this piece, this idea of hope and momentum, and again, the unique experience of composing for this particular project, which again has a firm set of instruments with Castle of Our Skins. So I know what I was composing, the group I was composing for there. But then there's this community of student performers who will join in, and I don't have an exact idea of how many, or it's just, again, there's that feeling of community. So I wrote the piece originally, I started off with the chord progression with the Castle of Our Skins ensemble. And from there, I just kind of built this sound world where the other unlimited amount of string players that can join in support the entire cohesion of this chord progression of the movement that's going on with the music. So everybody contributes, like there's all these different layers that come in this repeated chord progression. If anything, with that repetition of that chord progression, there's this sense of resolve that I feel like, where you're kind of hammering in this same sort of motive over and over again, but then you have this increase of participation from the other musicians. So it's like, it's getting larger, it's getting bigger. It's like the word is spreading, and everybody is coming together in this one voice, this one anthem. And towards the end, I add this part where there's percussion. And that's where everybody can grab pots and pans. They can make their own homemade shakers. It's just you're getting noisemakers, and there's music that they can play along with, different motives, little percussive motives that they can learn with this percussion line that's at the end of the piece. That's really like, it adds to that sense of there being a battle cry going on with this piece. So you start off small, but then there's a little bit more people. Again, it's like we're spreading the word, we're getting more people involved, and we're all getting on this tipping point together. And then as we're going down that hill, it's just like, yeah, like bringing in the percussion and having that sense of like, we are all together, So it's building on momentum. The more instruments that are involved, the more momentum and the larger sense of community is felt.
Yes, I think that's so beautiful and so clear. Hearing you say this, and also in my own learning of the piece and working with the students, that there's this clear trajectory that we're snowballing and gathering community, as you say, in unity. That's beautiful. I wonder if you can help us look deeper into your piece. You have a lot of fun techniques for us string players to do, ranging from glissandi or slides, which may be the sort of going to that tipping point that you had referenced before, using the wood of our bow, colegno, to sort of hit on the strings, getting a little bit of a percussion sound, using our finger pizzicato, tremolo, sort of a fast burst of energy. Can you help us understand a little bit about why, I guess, those techniques, if they had any significance to you in your theme of momentum and of hope and resilience? Anything about the techniques that are in the piece?
Yeah, sure. So there wasn't necessarily anything symbolic about the individual techniques that are there. Again, one thing that you'll notice with this piece is it is a repeated pattern over and over again. The famous piece Bolero, which is also a repeated idea over and over and over again that gets larger and larger. This kind of follows a similar-ish structure where we're starting off small with this chord progression, but it's going to be repeated over and over, but it's going to expand and expand and expand. And one thing that you want to do as a composer, especially if you're doing something that's like a theme and variation, or this idea where you have an idea that you're going to repeat over and over again, you got to keep it interesting, not only for the listener, but also for the musician. And I was just thinking about different techniques that might be fun to explore this repeated sound roll, so it feels different every single time. So you're going to play the progression, whether it be regular arco, whether you're doing it in pizzicato for one version, whether you're doing it in colegno for one version. So it's just adding variety and texture, just to keep things moving and keep things interesting.
Great. I think that would be so fun to be able to identify in our individual parts, all string parts, where those variations happen. So how long that particular theme is, and then how does it change the next time. I think that would be great for us to figure out in how we learn it, right? So it's not measure by measure, but it's idea with variation, idea with variation. I wonder too if that rhythmically is how you were thinking about the piece too. You have lots of eighth notes and quarter notes, and then we have big triplets that fill the bar and little triplets that fill the beat, and then quintuplets, five notes to a bar, and then 16th notes. Is that part of your momentum building, or were there significance with the rhythm that you chose?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like going from that idea of filling things in duple to da 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 da. Like it does add a sense of momentum. I mean, thinking from the perspective as a composer, and again, like students, you can do this too. It's actually really helpful as a musician myself when I'm performing a piece by another composer, to kind of think about the different reasons for why they might make the choices that they do. Having different rhythm, having that rounded feel of the triplet just feels like the wheels are in motion. It just feels like a wheel to me. And we're getting it just kind of builds on that sense of momentum that I'm hoping to achieve with this piece overall. So again, adding rhythmic variety for momentum.
And the same when we go into 3/8, this sort of giant bouncing.
Yeah. So yeah, not only do I change the rhythmic values, like from going from eighth notes to eighth note triplets, and with some of the string musicians, there's quintuplets as well. But I switch up the time signature, so it's half as fast, it's twice as fast, I'm sorry. So you're really, and that's towards the end where everybody is together, everybody is cohesive, and we're going down that hill, so to speak.
Yeah, that's all beautiful, all really insightful information, I think, for us to have as we learn this piece, and certainly for our audience members as they listen to new insight that they can have as a guide for their own enjoyment of the piece. Is there anything else about the commission, about the piece, anything about this collaboration that you would love to share?
Well, I would like to express my gratitude for being able to work with Castle of Our Skins again. It's always just an incredibly remarkable and wonderful and enriching and restorative and hopeful experience working with Castle of Our Skins. And again, for this specific project and how unique it is, we're getting to eventually see this completed project that involves, students from Boston. I'm just very excited to have something like this to look forward to, especially this year when it's a dark period. So having these opportunities where there's community and any sort of communication and sharing musical ideas, it's crucial in many ways, not just from a selfish standpoint as a composer. Like I really do feel lucky, but I think that as artists, as musicians, all of us, like we all play a part in creating momentum for ourselves and for the community. So it's just inspiring to be a part of something much larger than me.
Well, we are very lucky to have you as part of our community, and express our thanks to you as well. So, very much looking forward to diving in further to this project, and certainly to our virtual Stringfest World premiere of this particular piece, in addition to showcasing the other organizations and also Castle of Our Skins. All of that will happen on MLK Day, January 18th. 2021. So tune in for more details at castleskins.org, and happy practicing. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.